I rather think we're going to see another serious correction in the U.S. markets, which typically will affect the rest of the world, because I expect Europe to be a very, very serious problem. And if somebody can tell me when Europe finally hits the wall, then I can tell you when that bear market will begin. But until that point, I don't know. I mean, I think this is the year we see Europe begin to have its problems. They're going to be forced to either become a tighter fiscal union, which is its own set of problems, but it puts them down one direction, or they're going to have to break up. I don't think the markets are going to give them a choice of doing neither, of just continuing to do nothing. That the European Central Bank would have to print so many euros, massive, trillions and trillions of euros, to keep things moving along, to keep banks from bailing out, to keep government rates low, that it's hard for me to see the Germans saying, we think it's a good thing for the European Central Bank to print all this money. That was specifically written into the charter when the bank was formed and the European Union was created, that the European Central Bank could not do that. And if you listen to the German finance minister, the German parliament members, they're saying, no, nine, you can't do that. Well, if you can't do that, then you're either going to have the various countries that are in financial trouble bring their deficits under control so that they can begin to service their debt. Well, to do that austerity, if you will, that austerity has a cost. And it will mean, for some countries, a depression, like Greece, like Portugal. For other countries, it will mean a very serious recession. Italy, Spain. And a recession reduces, by definition, it reduces your GDP, which makes your debt situation worse. The time-honored way to get out of debt when you've gone too far, whether you're an individual or a company or a government, is to default. And that's what Greece is doing now. Greece is, the private debtors are going to lose 90% of their money. Eventually, that's what happens. I think the European Central Bank is going to lose a great deal of its money that it has taken as collateral. It's simple arithmetic. There's just not enough money to pay for it. Well, when you have that crisis and it begins to bleed over into Italy and Spain, which it is doing, I mean, we could lose Portugal, we could lose Greece. Okay. I mean, you have in China, there are whole cities that nobody in the West has ever heard of that are bigger than Greece and Portugal. Okay? In the grand scheme of things, I mean, what's Greece? except that European banks have taken so much of their debt, and they've taken more of that debt than they have capital in their banks. And that's the problem. If German banks didn't have so much Greek debt and Italian debt and Irish debt and Portugal debt and Spanish debt, the Germans wouldn't care. They would let the Greeks fall into the ocean. They're not financing Greece because they love the Greeks. They're financing Greece because their banks would go bankrupt. And they would have to then take money to bail out their banks. But when you come, and I'm coming back to the equities because I know that was your first question. When you deal with this problem, it's either recessions. Well, it is recessions, one way or another. It's going to be a recession in Europe. And you've got to either allow countries to write down their debt to default in a logical manner, and somebody has to pick up the cost, whether it's the European Central Bank or various governments. Somebody's got to do it. Well, that's a problem for the rest of the world because our banks have lent a great deal of money to European banks. Are the European taxpayers, are the French taxpayers going to have to put money into their banks so that they can pay U.S. banks? Really? I don't know. Nobody knows. We don't know as a country, and the regulators don't know how much our banks have given to Société Générale or to Banque Paribas. Who knows? Can they pay? Maybe. I don't think so. The largest Italian bank is clearly on its way to bankruptcy. Its stock is just falling through the floor. They can't raise the money they need.